Communal Cat Recommendations. Cats don't always like each other, so gotta be careful on that one. I'm not a huge fan of giving a lot of vaccines to kitty cats. I don't ever want to be the person responsible for giving a cat cancer. Kitty cats love to make tumors. The stray cat population there was horrendous. Don't let your vet talk you into getting a whole series of vaccines on the adult kitties. If you play laser tag as an enrichment activity for your kitty cat, please, please, please make sure that they win at the end, because Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Judy Morgan, and today I want to talk to you about communal cat recommendations. What the heck is that? Well, for our dogs, we want them to get mental stimulation and exercise, so a lot of times we take them to doggy daycare or to dog parks for exercise and fun. We don't do that very much with our cats, but sometimes your cats need to go to boarding, or your cat needs to stay at the veterinary office overnight, or you have to have your cat stay at somebody else's house while you're away, or you're keeping somebody else's cat for them. So sometimes our cats are in communal situations, and by the way, most people don't have one cat. Most people have multiple cats. So how do we make sure that we are putting our cats in a good, healthy situation when they're in a group setting? First of all, we'll talk about vaccinations. I'm not a huge fan of giving a lot of vaccines to kitty cats because kitty cats have this really obnoxious habit of making cancerous tumors at vaccine sites. Kind of wish they wouldn't do it, but they do like to do it. And after dealing with a lot of those when I was in veterinary practice, I came to the conclusion that I don't ever want to be the person responsible for giving a cat cancer because I gave more vaccines than what were absolutely necessary for that cat. And so I trimmed back my vaccination protocols a lot when I was in practice, and for my own cats, I've trimmed it back a lot too. Remember, I have some totally indoor cats, and I have a whole clouder of outdoor kitties who keep my barn free of rodent infestation. So they have a very important job to do, so they live outside in a very safe environment. One of the things we want to do, we want to look at what is the environment that our cat is going to live in, because I might be tempted to treat my outdoor cats differently than I treat my indoor cats, although I kind of treat them all the same. FVRCP is the feline viral rhinotracheitis, calici, and panleukopenia vaccine. It's easier to say FVRCP. We usually give that to kittens, usually a series of 2. Do not fall for they need 3 or they need 4 given every 2 weeks apart. They don't. 2 is all they need. And remember, cats like to make vaccine tumors, so we want to give them the minimum. So in my practice, I started giving them 1 at 12 weeks and 1 at 16 weeks, and then we were done. We would do a titer sometime at least 3 to 6 weeks after the second vaccine is given. So you could wait until they're a year old to do that. You could do it at 6 months. But after that vaccine is given, then we want to do a titer, and we want to make sure that they made good immunity to the vaccine that was given. Not all animals do. Sometimes we have a non-responder. Not very often in kitty cats. If your cat is then going to be an indoor kitty cat, they're not going to have any exposure. So do they need future vaccines once they have that positive titer? We know that they responded to the vaccine. In my cat's world, we don't do anymore. My indoor kitty cats. We don't do anymore because they have no exposure to anything. And my cats do not go to boarding. They do not go to the groomer. I don't have anyone saying to me, hey, you've got to give your cat vaccinations. And most of us don't take our cats to the groomer unless we have long-haired kitty cats that are getting matted, that we can't keep up with their grooming. Sometimes those guys go. When I have been at the groomers before, I have rarely seen kitty cats there, every once in a while. And in my veterinary practice, those long-haired cats that weren't grooming themselves and the owners weren't able to brush, they would get brought into us a couple times a year to get shaved down under sedation. So if your cats are not going to be exposed to anyone else, there's not a big reason to continue vaccinating them once we know that they have some protection. The rabies vaccine, we want to give somewhere between 6 months and 1 year of age. For my outdoor barn kitties, they got it around 6 months of age. And that first first vaccine is going to be good for 1 year. Then after that, you get the vaccine that is good for 3 years. It's the same vaccine. It's just once they get the second one, it's licensed for 3 years. You do want to ask for a T-free or a thimerosal-free vaccine for your kitty cat. I do not vaccinate my indoor cats for rabies anymore after they've had those two. My outdoor cats aren't even getting theirs every 3 years, but they will get titers for their rabies to make sure that they do have protection. Couple of problems that we have with titering for our cats. If you live in an area where you have to license your cat, titers are rarely accepted for licensing. For the indoor kitty cats, if you have a bat problem in your area, that could be a bit of an issue, because if a bat gets into your house and the bat happens to be rabid and your cats are not vaccinated, then we have an issue, because it's impossible to find a rat bite because they have little razor sharp teeth that make such a small wound. It would be almost impossible, particularly with all that fur on our animals. Even people, my aunt and uncle had a bat get into their bedroom while they were asleep. They had no idea if there was any exposure. They couldn't catch the bat to have it tested for rabies, so they had to get rabies vaccines. That's the one little caveat with cats. Interestingly, I did find a bat on our living room floor a couple houses ago one morning, and I kind of went, how did that happen? Where did that come from? No idea. It's the only one I ever saw. And it was not alive. So did one of my cats kill it? Did it come in and die? I don't know. Feline leukemia. All cats should be tested for feline leukemia and feline AIDS. The viruses are only transmitted through direct contact, and for FIV, it's really through bite wounds. So if you have indoor cats and you're not bringing in stray cats, then there is no reason to vaccinate your cats. I don't vaccinate my outdoor cats for leukemia. The mommies were tested when the little kitties were born, and so everybody's negative. We don't have stray cats that show up at our farm. Actually, we have one new one, the new Edward II. I haven't gotten a hold of him yet, but he needs to get tested. We need to make sure that he's negative. He's very healthy looking, so I'm not worried, but we do need to get him tested. I don't vaccinate our cats because we don't have a huge stray cat population. We don't have a huge sick cat population. I moved to a farm in New Jersey years back, and the stray cat population there was horrendous. And of course, I brought my few little kitties with me. The problem was that the farm next door had an old barn full of hay, no horses in there anymore, nobody going in and out of the barn, and it had a colony of about 100 cats just hanging out in there. Not being fed, they were just stray feral cats. So I started a trap, test, neuter, release program. And unfortunately, a good majority of those cats had both feline leukemia and feline AIDS because it was not a healthy colony. If you have cats who go outside and you have stray cats in the area, there are unhealthy cats in the area, definitely test your cats, and then you might want to consider the feline leukemia vaccine. We don't know how long feline leukemia vaccine lasts. We don't have titers for that. So right now it's recommended that it's given every year. However, it is one of the vaccines that kitty cats love to make tumors. They love to make tumors with the leukemia vaccine and the rabies vaccine. That's their favorite. So when the vaccines are given to your cat, ask for the rabies to be given as low as possible on the right hind leg, and leukemia, if you have to get it, as low as possible on the left hind leg. That way, if they do develop a lump, you know where it is and what it came from. So if you adopt an adult cat, they don't need a full series of immunizations, particularly if they came in through a rescue or they're out of shelter. They're going to get a vaccine as soon as they go into the rescue or they go into the shelter. Adults only need one. They do not need a series of vaccines. Don't let your vet talk you into getting a whole series of vaccines on the adult kitties. I would just do the one, and then if there's any question at all, you could wait a few weeks and do a titer rather than doing that second vaccine, because again, we don't like to inject kitties any more often than we have to. They will make tumors from antibiotic injections, from steroid injections. They just like to do it because their body says, oh my gosh, that's a foreign invader. I have to wall that off. And then when I wall it off, I start to attack it because it's a foreign invader. And then they make these ugly, nasty tumors. For your cat, remember, there is no one size fits all. What I do for one of my cats may not be the same thing that I do for another one of my cats. It's going to depend on their lifestyle, what they're exposed to, who they're exposed to, where they're going. You need to look at your individual cat and have a conversation with your veterinarian about your cat's lifestyle and why you are choosing one route over another route as far as vaccinations for your cats. Flea, tick, and heartworm, if your cat is going into a group setting, please, please, please use natural products. Please do not use the chemical pesticides on your kitty cats. Way, way, way too many side effects, seizures, tremors, ataxia, falling over, just really, really bad. So if you want to bring a new cat into your clouder, maybe your clouder is one cat right now and you want to get your cat a friend. Cats don't always like each other, so gotta be careful on that one. But ensure the new cat is healthy before introducing it until you can get that feline leukemia and feline AIDS test, get a physical exam, make sure they don't have a fever, they don't have ear mites, they don't have fleas, they don't have anything else that they're bringing with them. Keep them completely separate, isolated from any cats that you already have. Once they have a clean bill of health, then you can start introducing them. When I bring a new cat into the household, I usually put them on opposite sides of a door. You know, they can kind of smell under the door, they can reach under the door, they know there's another cat over there. They kind of get used to the idea that there's somebody else in their space, and then we slowly start to introduce them. We need to give them a place to hide, and cats need vertical perches. So you want to make sure that you've got cat trees or shelves somewhere where your cats can climb. That's why a lot of times we see cats on top of the refrigerator, the cats on top of the cabinets, because they like that vertical space. That's their safe space. They sit up there, they can look down on the kingdom that they rule and make sure that everyone is doing what they're supposed to be doing and that there's no danger to them. You need to have at least one litter box per cat plus one extra, and have them in different areas in the house, because if you have an aggressive cat, you want to make sure that the aggressor is not keeping the meek and mild one or ones out of the litter box. I saw that so much in practice where people were having litter box issues. And as a matter of fact, we've had that issue in our own house. I didn't realize it until my cat Mittens passed from his cancer. His little sister, who's a tiny little thing, the run of the litter, she had some litter box issues where she did not like to use the litter box. After he passed, she started using the litter box, no problem. I didn't realize that he was being an aggressor and keeping her away from the litter box, even though we had plenty of litter boxes for the 3 cats. You've got to be very in tune to the interactions between the cats. I never saw him being aggressive, but clearly there was a problem for her going to the box. If you have multiple cats, they all still need their individual attention. They all need to be petted, played with, groomed, all the things that we need to do with them. And we want to make sure that we have enrichment for all of the kitty cats. Diet, high meat, high moisture. They are obligate carnivores. Their ideal diet is a mouse, a rabbit, a bird. So when you're making food for your cats, think mouse, rabbit, bird. That's what they're supposed to be eating. Very, very high moisture. You can also add in things like little freeze-dried minnows, raw chicken wing tips, those sorts of things, or freeze-dried. My cats love freeze-dried hearts. They will do backflips for those. You can hide treats in the house to mimic hunting. If you play laser tag as an enrichment activity for your kitty cat, please, please, please make sure that they win at the end, because there's nothing worse than going on a hunt, spending all day pouncing and jumping and going after something, and then it disappears at the end and you didn't catch a dang thing. Please let them catch something at the end. Throw a treat where the last laser beam landed and let them catch that. For your kitty cats, if they're going outside, they either should be microchipped, if they're spayed and neutered, you probably want to do an ear tip on them. And if they wear collars and tags, I do not put collars and tags on my outdoor cats because I had too many clients whose outdoor cats managed to hang themselves on their collars. But make sure it is a quick release collar, and I really like the flat tags if you're going to have a tag rather than a hanging tag, because they're more likely to get hooked on something. Not too many of us take our cats to group play or communal spaces, but if you need to, these are ways that you can keep them safe and make sure that you get them back in one piece.